Sam's fingers drummed against his worn jeans as he sat on a bench outside the lecture hall, watching the crowd of students spill out. It was a typical afternoon on campus, and everything around him felt like the start of something great and terrifying. College life had been an idea, a dream, until just a month ago when Sam stepped foot into this buzzing new world. Fresh out of high school, he was eager but nervous, excited but cautious, wondering if he was truly ready to handle the freedom that came with university life. His parents had raised him in a strong Christian home. Sunday services, youth groups, volunteering at church events, it was all familiar territory. But out here, hundreds of miles away from their hometown, Sam felt exposed, like he was stepping into the unknown with no safety net. The campus itself was beautiful, and the variety of people and ideas was inspiring, but it also came with an unsettling sense of unpredictability. Everywhere he looked, it seemed like people were reinventing themselves, exploring different identities, and pushing boundaries. And while it was liberating, it was also a little frightening. He wasn't sure how he would fit into this environment or what lays ahead. "Sam!" a voice called out, jolting him from his thoughts. He turned to see Danny, his new friend from orientation, jogging over with a grin. Danny was friendly, quick-witted, and always seemed to have a new plan or idea up his sleeve. They'd clicked immediately at orientation, and Danny had quickly become a sort of guide for him, introducing him to new people and inviting him to join in on activities around campus. "Hey, you busy?" Danny asked, flopping down on the bench next to Sam. "A few of us are grabbing food and hanging out in the common room tonight. You in?" Sam smiled, grateful for the invitation. "Yeah, sure. What time?" Danny shrugged. "Around 7. Just bring yourself. I'll text you the details." Sam nodded, feeling a flutter of excitement. Hanging out with Danny and his friends felt like a good way to start building connections. After all, he didn't want to spend every evening alone in his dorm room. But a tiny, nagging thought crept into Sam's mind as Danny walked off. Just don't get too caught up in it all. Remember who you are. That evening, Sam found himself surrounded by new faces in the common room of their dorm. Laughter echoed around the space as people swapped stories and joked about their high school days. Some were sprawled across couches, others perched on tables or leaning against the walls. The atmosphere was relaxed, but there was an underlying energy, a kind of eagerness to impress, to be noticed. Danny introduced Sam to his other friends, and before long, Sam was engaged in a lively conversation about favorite TV shows, the best places to eat on campus, and plans for the semester. But as the evening wore on, the conversation began to shift. Someone pulled out a pack of beer from their backpack, and a hush fell over the group as they glanced around, gauging each other's reactions. "Don't worry," one of Danny's friends said, laughing. "It's college. We're supposed to be a little reckless, right?" A few people chuckled, and one by one they each grabbed a bottle. Danny nudged Sam, offering one as well. Sam hesitated, feeling a familiar inattention. He didn't want to seem uptight or judgmental, especially around people who were quickly becoming friends. But he also couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was a step he didn't want to take. "Come on, Sam," Danny urged gently, noticing their hesitation. "It's just one. No one's going to pressure you if you're not into it." Sam swallowed, trying to find the right words. I'm good actually, just here for the company," he said, smiling in what he hoped was a casual way. Danny gave a small nod, a hint of respect in his eyes. "Suit yourself, more for the rest of us." The others seemed unbothered, laughing and clinking their bottles together. Sam relaxed slightly, relieved that the moment had passed without any judgment, but he couldn't shake the lingering sense of being on the outside, of watching everyone around him dive headfirst into experiences he were cautious to even approach. Part of him wondered if he were missing out, if his boundaries were somehow holding him back from connecting with others fully. In the weeks that followed, Sam found himself navigating a delicate balance. He enjoyed hanging out with Danny and his friends, joining them for meals, study sessions, and the occasional late-night movie marathon. But Sam always seemed to draw a line just before things veered into territory he were uncomfortable with. When others went out to parties, Sam would find a reason to bow out early or suggest an alternative. It was a subtle dance, one that required constant vigilance and a willingness to stand apart, even if only slightly. One evening, Sam was sitting alone in his dorm room, scrolling through social media, when Danny burst into his room with an infectious grin. Big party tomorrow night off campus. It's going to be epic. You have to come. Seriously, everyone's talking about it. Sam hesitated. He had promised himself to avoid parties, especially the ones that seemed to be all about drinking and wild behavior. But Danny's excitement was hard to resist, and a part of Sam was tired of always saying no. He didn't want to feel like the odd one out forever, the friend who was always too cautious or too good to join in. Just one night, Danny pressed, noticing their reluctance. You don't even have to stay long. Just come, have fun for a bit, then head out if you want. I promise it'll be worth it. After a long pause, Sam nodded. All right, fine. Just for a little while. The next evening, Sam found himself walking into the party with Danny by his side. The place was packed with students, laughter, and music blaring loud enough to drown out any second thoughts. The smell of alcohol and smoke hung in the air, mixing with the scent of perfume and cologne. Sam tried to relax, telling himself that it was just one night, that he could enjoy himself without crossing any lines. But as the night wore on, he felt increasingly out of place. People were drinking more heavily, dancing in ways that made Sam uncomfortable, and the conversations grew louder and more chaotic. It was clear that most of the students there were chasing a kind of thrill, a reckless abandon that Sam couldn't quite understand. At one point, a guy stumbled over to Sam, slurring his words as he tried to start a conversation. His eyes were glassy, and he kept offering Sam a drink, despite his repeated refusals. Come on, he insisted, his tone becoming more insistent. Don't be so uptight. You're here to have fun, right? Sam forced a smile, hoping he'd take the hint and move on. But he persisted, pressing the cup closer to him, his voice taking on a mocking edge. What? You think you're too good for this? Just a sip won't hurt. The situation felt suffocating, and Sam's heart raced as he looked around for an escape. In that moment, the words from Bible study echoed in their mind. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Romans 12:2. It was a reminder that staying true to his faith didn't have to mean alienating others. It simply meant choosing a different path, even if it meant standing out. Taking a deep breath, Sam looked the guy in the eye and said firmly, I'm good, thanks, but no. A flicker of confusion crossed his face before he shrugged and stumbled away, muttering under his breath. Sam felt a surge of relief. It wasn't the easiest choice, but it was the right one for them. Without waiting for another confrontation, Sam slipped out of the crowded house, taking deep breaths as he stepped into the cool night air. Sam exhaled slowly, the cold air grounding him as they stood alone on the quiet street outside the party. For a moment, he closed their eyes, letting the stillness wrap around him. It was strange. College was supposed to be the place to discover yourself, to dive headfirst into new experiences and forge lifelong friendships. Yet standing here on the outskirts of what everyone else seemed to embrace so easily, Sam felt like he was drifting further away from everyone around him. Is this what the narrow path feels like? He whispered to himself. Does it mean always standing on the outside? The quiet didn't provide an answer, but it brought a strange peace. Sam pulled out his phone, hesitating before opening the Messages app and typing out a quick note to his family WhatsApp group. I miss you, Mom and Dad. I miss you, Mike. Pocketing the phone, he began the walk back to his dorm. The next afternoon, Sam spotted Ava, one of his seniors he had met during his orientation, in the corner booth of the cafe he went to, a warm cup of coffee in her hands. She waved him over, her face breaking into a genuine smile. Ava always had a calming presence, like she could see past the surface and understand what people needed without them saying a word. How's it going, Sam? She asked, her eyes kind and patient. Sam fumbled for the right words, then settled for honesty. It's hard. College is amazing in so many ways, but I feel like I'm constantly walking a tightrope. I don't want to judge anyone, but I also feel this pressure to go along with things that don't sit right with me. And every time I try to stand firm, I end up feeling isolated, like I'm just watching everyone else live while I'm stuck on the outside. Ava nodded, taking a slow sip of her coffee. Wow, trust me, I get it. You're not alone, Sam. Honestly, I think every Christian who takes their faith seriously goes through that. College is a time when everyone is figuring out who they are, and sometimes that means exploring things that don't align with our values. But that doesn't mean you have to compromise who you are to fit in. His shoulders slumped slightly as he processed Ava's words. I don't want to lose friends or miss out on good memories, you know? And Danny's a great friend. He's always inviting me to things and he doesn't judge me. But every time I try to join in, I feel like I'm betraying myself in some way. Ava reached across the table, placing a gentle hand on Sam's. You don't have to be perfect, Sam. God doesn't expect us to be flawless, just faithful. There's a difference. You can love people, be kind to them, and share in their joys without following their choices. Jesus hung out with people from all walks of life, but he never compromised his values. He loved them, but he never lost sight of who he was. Sam thought about that, letting Ava's words sink in. It felt reassuring, a reminder that his faith didn't have to be a barrier, but could instead be a quiet, steady foundation. Thanks, Ava, Sam said, offering a small smile. It's just nice to know I'm not alone in this. Ava gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. Anytime. And don't forget, you can join our community of Christians here on campus that will walk this path with you. It's narrow, yes, but you're not the only one on it. They spent the rest of the afternoon chatting about classes, upcoming events at church, and the challenges they'd faced since arriving on campus. By the time they left the cafe, Sam felt a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that his faith was something to lean on, not hide away. A few weeks later, Sam found himself in the middle of midterms, juggling endless assignments, study sessions, and projects. The pressure was mounting, and even the simple act of finding time to pray or read the Bible felt overwhelming. Sam's daily routine had become a blur of classes, library hours, and sleep-deprived mornings. His faith, something that had once felt like a lifeline, now felt like just another item on an endless to-do list. One evening, Danny texted, "Hey, we're having a study party in the common room tonight. Come join us, pizza and everything." Sam glanced at the message, feeling a pang of guilt. He hadn't been to Bible study in over a week, and he knew Ava and the others would be expecting him tonight. But the thought of a relaxed evening with friends, some pizza, and a break from all the stress was too tempting to resist. "Sure," he texted back, ignoring the part of him that felt torn. "Be there in 10. When Sam arrived, the common room was already buzzing. Students were spread out on couches and chairs, textbooks open, and notes scattered everywhere. Danny waved him over, handing him a slice of pizza as he joined the group. For a while, it was everything Sam needed: laughter, friends, a bit of relaxation. But as the evening wore on, the casual study session shifted. Someone pulled out something wrapped in a leather. A small group gathered in the corner, sharing drinks, sniffing and cracking jokes that grew louder and less restrained with each sip. Sam's stomach twisted, the familiar unease creeping in. He just wanted a break. A chance to feel normal and forget about the pressures of being the Christian friend for a little while. But now the boundaries he set felt fragile, like he could be swept away at any moment. Danny noticed Sam's discomfort and leaned over. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft but laced with concern. Sam forced a smile, nodding. "Yeah, I think I might head out soon. Got an early class tomorrow." Danny studied them for a moment, then nodded. "I get it. But hey, you don't have to go just because everyone else is drinking. You're part of the group, Sam, and we like you for who you are. No one's forcing you to join in." Sam appreciated Danny's words, but a sense of restlessness lingered. The following weekend, Ava invited the Bible study group to a weekend retreat at a cabin a few hours from campus. Sam almost didn't go, worried that the retreat would just be another activity to juggle in his already packed schedule. But Ava's words echoed in their mind. "You're not alone on this path." He needed that reminder more than ever. When they arrived at the cabin, Sam was greeted by a group of familiar faces, all beaming with excitement. That evening, as they sat around a campfire, Ava asked everyone to share a moment when they'd felt God's presence in their lives. One by one, each person spoke, sharing stories of struggle, doubt, and small moments of grace that had helped them through difficult times. When it was Sam's turn, he hesitated, unsure of what to say. But the warmth of the fire and the openness of the group gave them courage. "I feel like I'm constantly trying to find balance," Sam admitted. "I want to be a good friend, to fit in and enjoy college like everyone else, but I also don't want to lose who I am or compromise my faith. Sometimes it feels like I'm always on the outside, watching everyone else dive into things I'm too afraid or unwilling to try." Ava nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "You know, Sam, staying true to your values doesn't mean you're missing out. It just means you're choosing a different path, one that will lead you to places others might not reach." Sometimes it's the quiet acts of faith, the small choices, that have the greatest impact. Another member of the group, Josh, chimed in. I get it, Sam. I've been there too. But remember, God's path for you isn't about being perfect or fitting in. It's about being willing to trust Him, even when it's hard. Their words struck a chord with Sam. It wasn't about blending in or standing out. It was about finding strength in his own journey, trusting that God had a plan for him, even if it wasn't always clear. That night, as they lay in the small cabin bunk, listening to the sounds of the forest, Sam felt a sense of peace. When Sam awoke the next morning, the cabin was still and quiet, save for the soft whispers of the wind outside. The retreat had given him a much-needed break from the noise of campus life, and he felt a clarity that had been absent for months. It wasn't that the struggles had disappeared. Sam knew the pressure to conform would always be there, but he was beginning to realize that his journey didn't need to look like anyone else's. God's plan for his was unique, and it was okay to walk a different path. Back on campus, Sam found himself walking a little taller. The noise didn't feel so overwhelming anymore. Classes were still demanding, friendships were still complicated, and the pull of the world was ever present. But now there was a sense of certainty. He didn't need to chase after approval or fit into every circle to feel valued. His identity was already secure in God, and that was enough. Danny noticed the change almost immediately. One evening, as Sam walked into the common room to study, he raised an eyebrow. "You've got a different vibe going on, Sam. What's up?" Sam chuckled, settling into their usual spot. "I guess you could say I've been doing some thinking. I realized I don't need to be anything other than who I am. If people don't like it, that's okay. I'm not here to please everyone." Danny looked thoughtful for a moment before nodding. "I can respect that. I mean, I don't always get it, but I can respect it." And that was enough. Sam didn't need everyone to understand. He just needed to stay true to himself. At the end of their sophomore year, Sam sat on the steps outside his dorm, looking out over the campus. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lane, and the world around him seemed to slow down for a moment. He thought about everything he had learned, the challenges, the moments of doubt, and the breakthroughs. It wasn't easy, but it was real, and that was enough. He had walked through the fire of temptation and come out stronger on the other side. "Lord," Sam whispered, "thank you for always being there, even when I didn't know what I was doing. I know this path is narrow, but I trust you. Whatever comes next, I know you've got it covered." He closed his eyes, feeling the peace of knowing he was exactly where he was supposed to be.